Let me ask you something. When you think about growth, personal, spiritual, whatever, what does it look like? I bet for most of us, it's a straight line, always going up. But what if that's not right? What if the real journey is actually a curve? And what if true mastery means you end up in a place that looks an awful lot like where you began? Yeah, I know. It's a fascinating, kind of counterintuitive idea, right? You think the path would lead to more and more mind-bending complexity. But it seems like in so many traditions, it actually circles back, and it finds the most profound wisdom in the simple things. So today, we're going to explore this whole journey using a really powerful metaphor, the spiritual bell curve. Think of it as a map that lays out a three-stage progression. You start with simple faith, climb through some really deep study, and then come back to an even deeper, what we'll call enlightened simplicity. So this whole journey really unfolds in three distinct stages. It kicks off with naive simplicity, then it climbs to the peak of intellectual complexity, and finally it comes back around to this profound state of enlightened simplicity. Okay, let's really dig into what each of these stages feels like. All right, let's dive into stage one. This is the starting point, right? The baseline of the curve. This is where faith is just direct, it's uncomplicated, and it's often felt really deeply without needing a bunch of complex theory behind it. This classic Zen quote just captures this mindset perfectly. In this first stage, you see the world as it is, literally. A mountain is just a mountain. There's this beautiful, unanalyzed acceptance of reality right in front of you. And you can see this in traditions like Pure Land or Nichiren Buddhism. They really emphasize that a beginner can jump in with a simple, powerful practice, like chanting, and get the benefits right away, without having to become a scholar first. Simple faith is your ticket in. Okay, so let's move up to the peak of that curve. As you mature in your practice, this natural hunger for knowledge just pops up. This is the stage of deep study, of really wrestling with doctrine, and honestly, of questioning everything. And here we go. You can see the shift. That simple mountain, it's not just a mountain anymore. Now it's a symbol. It's a concept. It's a whole collection of interdependent causes and effects. Your mind starts to deconstruct the world, and all those naive assumptions start to fall away. To give you a really concrete example of this complexity, take a look at a concept like Ichinen Sanzen. Now, this is not a simple idea. It is a vast philosophical framework that suggests your entire reality, all 3,000 possible realms of existence, is contained within a single moment of your thought. I mean, wow. And when you dive into just that one concept, it reveals a whole universe of interconnected ideas. You have to study things like the 10 worlds, this idea that every state from hell to Buddhahood exists inside you right now, and then their mutual possession, which means each world contains all the others. It's a massive intellectual undertaking, and it really is the very peak of the bell curve. But here's the thing, you don't stay at that peak of complexity forever. After climbing that mountain of intellectual effort, the path starts leading back down. But it's not a retreat, it's an arrival into a whole new kind of simplicity. And this just illustrates the return so brilliantly. The mountain is a mountain again. You're seeing things just as they are, just like you did in the beginning. But something profound has changed. You're not seeing it with naive eyes anymore. You're seeing it with the eyes of wisdom and lived experience. This famous saying reinforces the very same point. The outer actions, they might look completely identical. You still have to engage with daily life, right? But the inner consciousness, the awareness you bring to chopping that wood and carrying that water, has been completely transformed. So, here's the crucial point. These two kinds of simplicity are not the same. The simplicity you start with is based on hope. The simplicity you end with is based on lived experience. It's the difference between following the recipe and becoming the chef. It's this beautiful idea of an informed innocence. So what's the big takeaway here? What's the deeper wisdom of this bell curve, of this whole journey of returning to where you started? It's a fair question, right? You might be thinking, so you end up right back where you started? If the master's practice looks just like the beginner's, was that whole complex journey in the middle just some big detour? And here is the key insight. It's not a flat circle that brings you back to the exact same spot. It's a spiral. You return to the same point on the map, sure, but you're on a higher plane now. All the wisdom you gained during that complex stage is integrated, it's embodied, it's not forgotten. Let's look at that simple act of chanting one more time, but through the lens of the spiral. The beginner, they chant with hope for a better future. The scholar, they chant with a deep intellectual grasp of the doctrine. But the awakened practitioner, they chant simply because it is a natural, pure expression of their own awakened nature. Same action, radically different depth. And that brings us to this final thought from T.S. Eliot. This journey suggests that maybe, just maybe, the goal isn't to arrive at some exotic, faraway destination. Maybe it's about returning home, to the simple reality that's been right in front of us all along, but with the capacity to truly see it, as if for the very first time.